Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a polar bear in fireweeds. This is an amazing photograph from Dennis Fast. He's allowed us to use it for this program, and we are super excited to be painting it for you today. I've got my husband, Mark, with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's man in chat for our live show, so if you've got questions while we're painting, you can ask those, and I will try to answer them. Let's get started. All right, so this is our reference photo. I asked Mr. Fast to allow me to use it, and I didn't realize at the time that he was like a world-renowned photographer. But he was super gracious and allowed us to do it. Put up his website there, hon. Sorry. Because you need to be on palette cam. There we go. So if you want to check that out, the link is down in the description. You can go there and see all of his amazing wildlife photography. It's incredible. He's been in National Geographic and other photography magazines. Just award-winning guy, amazing. And there's all kinds of information about him down in the descriptions. If you want to check that out, be sure to do that after the show. All right, I'm going to go over our palette really quick. We've got Unbleached Titanium, Titanium White, Quinacridone Magenta, Cadmium, Yellow Medium, Yellow Oxide, Phthalo Green Yellow Shade, Ultramarine Blue, Burnt Sienna, Burnt Umber, Dioxazine Purple, and Carbon Black. And I've also got some glazing liquid here to use for some of the blurry flowers in the background. And we'll also be using Zinc White later, but I don't have it out right now because I didn't want it to get dried out. It's going to be one of the very last colors we use because we're going to use it in the eyes in the little reflections. My copier obviously printed this off way. Need a new printer really bad, but I wanted to print it out so that in case when I was drawing and things I could refer to it while we're doing it. All right, so I'm using a 9x12-inch canvas panel. This is the Pro Series Belgian linen canvas archival canvas board from Fredrix, our canvas sponsor. Thank you to them for providing these. And we're going to be using Princeton brushes today. As always, these are the Princeton Summit 6100 series. We'll be using the Velvet Touch series and some of the Select series as well. I've got all the brushes that we'll be using listed down in the description. The only one I don't think is down there is this Filbert Grainier. It's a kind of a rake or comb brush, also called those two things. So we will probably be using it for a little bit of the fur detail later on. All right, let's get started. I guess I already went over the colors, so let's do that. Let's do it. All right, so let's draw him out really quick. He's actually, I picked this photograph. There's a ton of photographs that he took, a whole series of photographs of this bear in the flowers, these fireweed flowers. And she is like totally living life large. Like she is loving these flowers. She's got, she's picking them in her mouth. She's rolling around in them. It's just, and the look on her face is she's just so blissed out. She's just having, I was like, when I saw them, I was like, oh my gosh, that was like my spirit animal. I so have to paint her. So that would so be me. So anyhow, they're really hilarious. They're awesome photographs. I just love the whole series. So it was really hard to pick one, but I picked this one just because she's looking straight at us, face on, and there's there's not a pause or anything like that that'll make it more difficult to paint. This will be a very I think beginner friendly painting. And that's why I chose this particular image for us to do. So the main thing is to kind of figure out the placement of the face. She is right, if you kind of split your canvas into thirds here, her face is kind of fitting right in that middle third just about. And if you split it in half, she's on this half here. The nose is right on that bottom third. So if you cross the thirds this way, like if we split the third this way and this way on our canvas, her nose is right smack dab in the middle of that. So that's where I started, is I kind of figured out my third here and my third this way and kind of found that little spot right here where her nose was going to be. And so you're going to do kind of a curved line for the nose. And it's not all that large. Her nose and her eyes are actually quite small for the rest of her features. So the nose is actually, larger than the eyes, obviously, but
I wonder if that's a compliment in polar bear culture.
What?
Got a small nose.
Got a small nose. I don't know. Yeah.
Hopefully.
She's a beautiful bear. She knows it. All right, so we're going to do this kind of curved shape and then kind of round it out. The nostrils kind of come in like this and then do sort of like that shape there. I think I'm making it a little bit too big there, but we'll fix it later. Then the top of it, there's going to be a little bit of gray kind of going along the top as well. So this is kind of the front part of the nose right here. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And this is the top part here. All right, and then if you did a diagonal line from this out, here and here, you're going to find your eye, the corner of your eyes are going to be right in here, and the way you place it is kind of go right at the top line of that nose there, and the top of the head. So they're going to be right in the middle of the space between the nose and the top of the head. So you just kind of figure out where that's going to be right here. And do your little two eyes right here, and they're quite small. Here. And they're really kind of like almost like a human's shape eye. It looks like they're not, they have the kind of classic almond shape like that. And then so once you kind of figure out how far that is, then you just do the same distance up here. That'll be the top of the head, and then just do a curved line down and around like this. When it comes to about right here, even with the nose, it starts to kind of curve in a little bit. And then most of this is actually kind of going to be covered up, so we're just not really going to see much of any of this, but there is kind of a line right here where her mouth splits and comes down like that. So we can go ahead and kind of put that in, but most of this is going to be covered up by our fireweeds flowers. So there's one that kind of comes right up the middle of her forehead right here. All right, so then, and I think this might actually, I might come in just a little bit on her eye right here. I might come in just a little bit. I'm noticing she kind of, there's sort of the muzzle comes around like this. So I don't want to go too far out from that when I do the eye. So I'm going to bring this eye in just a little bit. All right, so then the diagonal line here is going to be hit right in the middle of the ear. So that's kind of where you know the middle, that dark part of the ear is going to be. And then you kind of just come up and around it. The ears are fairly small, like that there. And then the same here. So kind of your diagonal line here. Here's your middle of your ear. And you're going to have this little curved. It kind of comes straight up, and then it curves around, and then sort of meets up with the side of the face right there. So that's the shape. So it goes kind of straight out from the head, almost like at a right angle right here and here. And then, but down here, it kind of gently sort of curves down into the head on either side. All right. And then, yeah, definitely her eye needs to be a little bit smaller on this side. Just going to take that off. I'm using a water-soluble pencil so that if I have anything that I want to edit, I can just easily do that. There we go. And then her eye ball is going to be in here, but it's quite dark, so it's really kind of hard to see that, but we are going to put a little bit of detail in the eyes. Let me move this one over just a little bit, just like I did here, so they match up. And I'm going to erase this line here. I don't need that anymore. Hope y'all having a good Saturday. Getting ready for the Thanksgiving holiday here. We're gonna have a house full, so it'll be fun. Have all my boys under house again. I always like it when they're all with us. Say happy mom. when all my boys come back home. All right, so there's kind of a shadow area right here, under each eye right here. And then the muzzle kind of comes down and around right here. It's fairly narrow, doesn't come out very far from the nose here, and just kind of curves around. And like I said, most of this is going to be covered up by flowers, so we're not going to really have to worry too much about any of that. Then the side of the head here, right about the middle part of this ear, you're seeing her back come out this way. And then it curves up, and it does an angle, it's kind of pointing almost to that corner. So if you start there and sort of angle it this way, like towards a corner, then you'll kind of get it about the right height here. It kind of dips right here, and then it comes back up and then dips again right here. All right. I think I'm too close. I need to zoom out. No? Okay. All right. And then the rest of this, the side of the head here kind of curves down. You see a little bit of a shadow right here, and then there's a little bit of a shadow back here. But, and then I'm not really even sure where the side of her face is. I'm guessing it's right here, or the side of her body here. I'm guessing it's kind of coming down from right about here, but you're not seeing any of this because this is all flowers down in here. So that's all the drawing that we have to do. Not too difficult. I really don't think it's that bad. And if you need a traceable for this, I will have it available on my Patreon page. I also wanted to mention, if y'all feel like saying thank you to Dennis because he has donated the use of this photograph for free today. If you want to say thank you to him, all of the super chat donations that we collect today from the show during the live show are going to go to him. I'm going to tally him up and send him a little check, or probably digitally, but you know what I mean. Who writes checks anymore, right? Just to say thank you. I'm sure. Be just a nice gesture to say thank you to him for.
You didn't have to say, yeah, go ahead and use it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to charge me for it. I really did, and I was ready to pay him for the use of it, and he was very kind and allowed me to use it for free. So I want to thank him for that. It was very generous. He when he found out that we were doing these for free on YouTube, he was like, he wanted to support that because he's all about educating in the arts and all of that. So it was very generous. All right, so I'm going to start out with our purple here, the kind of purple fireweed color. I'm using Quinacridone Magenta, just a touch of the purple, the Dioxazine Purple, and then some white. So you don't need a whole lot of the Dioxazine and the purple to make this, because those are pretty high tinting strength colors, so they will really kind of take over if you add too much. So just kind of more white than the pinks. And I am just going to kind of lay this color down here. And I'm using my number 12 flat. This is probably way too big for this up here because it's not a very big area. So I'm going to switch really quick here to my Filbert once I get close to the bear, because I don't want to go over the top of her too much. So get kind of that first part down there pretty quickly, and I'm going to switch over to my number 4 Filbert. Get a little bit of water on there. Pick up a little bit of white. And I'm going to dab in here and just add some little. We're going to keep this area very kind of fuzzy and sort of impressionist, so we want to just keep our brush strokes really light and blurry. So I'm just kind of tapping in here, and sort of anywhere I tap, if I have a hard edge, I can go kind of around it and sort of soften those up. So just making sure I don't have any like really crisp edges on any of these. You can show the brush strokes, that's fine. I just want them to kind of look soft and blend into one another nicely. All right, you can see where I'm touching that water soluble paint there. It's kind of turning gray, so I'm going to go right over the top of that so that I don't have a line of gray surrounding my bear. We'll just work that color into our painting. And then when we do another coat on top, it'll go away completely. And I'm just going to go kind of right over the top of where we're going to be doing her fur, because a little bit of the fur you can see through when we do these edges. You can see especially like right here. So what I'm going for is the part that's down below. I'm not going to the right to the edge of where the fur is. I'm going actually just a little bit below that, so that when we do the fur over the top, she's not going to get any larger. We want her to stay, you know, the size we want her. So if I painted right up at the top of that fur line and then did the fur, it would enlarge her just a little bit more than I want to. So hope that makes sense. Getting some more of the Quinacridone Magenta. A little bit of that purple. A little bit more magenta. And we're going to put in some darker colors. And this area right here, it looks like she's kind of up against a rock or something, I think. I'm going to just going to do pink back in here, and then we can put in, we'll be putting in some green shoots of leaves and things too. So, all right, see, so I'm just kind of blending that in a little bit. All of this back here is really blurry, so you're really not going to see any detail in these flowers back here at all, really. You see kind of the basic shape, so we can kind of create some of those spiky kind of shapes, but then we're going to blend it all out pretty well, so it's not going to be very obvious what they are way back here. So if Dennis, he said he was going to try to catch our live show, so if Dennis is watching, make sure you say hi, Dennis, and let Mark know if he's in chat, because I'd love to ask him a couple questions about how he found these bear and did this photography. There's an article about him in the My Modern Met that I included down in the description of the video that talks about this actual photo series. So if you are interested in that, you can check that out. The link is down in the description of this video too. And also obviously his website link down there. So, and I think he sells prints and things too. He's retired. He and his wife both do photography, and they travel around the world and take photographs. Sounds like a fun way to retire, isn't it? If I knew anything about photography, I think I'm better just sitting in my studio. Sounds like a lot of work.
We might retire just painting.
Painting, yeah. Exactly. Are you going to start painting, hon? When you say we?
We as in you.
Okay.
I'll sit off to your left and just stare at you awkwardly.
Okay. I like that plan.
While you talk to yourself.
While I talk to myself. I like it. I like it. All right, so I need to add some green in here because I obviously haven't done that yet. These, if you've never painted with acrylics before, even if you have, you'll know that the first couple layers are always very awkward looking. They're not going to, it's not going to look anything like what it's going to be when we finish. When we first start, I call it the ugly stage. And sometimes it takes a while to get out of the ugly stage. So we're going to probably be in the ugly stage for a little while here. So just kind of know that when you start painting this and you get to this point, you kind of might start to panic and think, I don't think this is really what I wanted it to look like. But, it's all about the layering. So we're just doing our kind of background layers here, and we'll have plenty more layers up on top of here to make it look better. So don't fret yet. All right, so I've got I did phthalo green and yellow oxide, and then I added just a little bit of that pink to it. That'll kind of tone it down and neutralize the color a little bit. And kind of visually blend it with these pinks that we've got going on back here. So I'm just very, very lightly, I've got just a little bit of paint on my brush. I'm just going to very lightly blending it in. These pinks are still wet back here. If yours are dry, you can still do this. Just just be careful not to do this over the top of paint that is in the middle of drying. I'm going to grab some yellow oxide here and do a little bit of yellow oxide. Just a couple places. If your paint's getting sticky, you just want to let it dry completely, and then you can do some more of these layers over the top once it's dry. So just be aware of that. All right. Yeah, I think Dennis said he had a show this weekend, so he wasn't sure if he was going to actually get to watch the live show. But he was going to try. Added a little bit of white here, and I'm going to do some white. What are you saying, None?
Keeping an eye out for him.
Good.
I don't see him yet.
Okay.
But we have one donation so far.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Who from? We can list them off as we go.
Oh, okay. Okay, we had a donation from Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Do you want the bell and everything, or just
no, don't do the bells.
Oh gosh, no.
Well, no, I mean just today. I just figured if we have time, if it's not interruption.
Maybe I can do the Christmas bells.
Oh, that's right. We got the Christmas bells this time of year. It's too late now. Don't do them now.
Oh, okay. I'll take that sound back. Hold on a second.
Grabbing some cadmium yellow and adding it to this. I take it back. When I give you the bell option, you go crazy with it. So. It's like give him the power.
I got one job. Okay. Michelle says, thanks to Dennis for the amazing photo and Angela for turning it into a fabulous tutorial for us. And absolutely nothing for me. So I'm going to zoom way out so they can't see it. No,
all right.
I won't.
You're a mess. You're a mess. Okay, I'm going to use some of this down here. I'm just going to kind of add some of this green. I kind of watered this down a little bit. Add it down here. Kind of underneath. And obviously we'll be painting over the top of it most of this, but I just want a little bit of color behind what we got going on here. Okay, so we're going to let all of that dry, and then we're going to do another layer on top, obviously, because it's not looking like a whole lot. It's looking kind of like a hot mess right now, which is normal. Totally normal. I'm going to make some more of that deep magenta color with the purple and the... It's almost like a violet color with the Quinacridone Magenta. Added a little tiny bit of white because I want to go a little bit darker here. I'm going to add a few little dark areas while this is still wet. And then we'll be letting it dry, I promise, eventually. Keep saying I'm going to let it dry. All right, that's good enough, I think. Add some of this color down here. Today is our son Spencer's birthday. He turned 17.
Yes, he did.
Happy birthday to Spencer.
Happy birthday.
I don't think he's watching. I think he's out getting lunch at Chick-fil-A without us.
And they just came out with their peppermint shakes for the holidays, so I'm sure he didn't bring one back for us.
Probably not. That'll teach us for working on his birthday. All right, so let's put in, while this stuff is drying, we'll put in our polar bear. And the reason I didn't do the pink all the way through is just because I didn't want to have to fight this color underneath our polar bear. I didn't want to have to try to work around or, cover up. Red can be a difficult color to cover. So I'm just going to use this Unbleached Titanium and go over that edge, and I'm kind of being sloppy about it on purpose because I want that edge to be blurry back there. And right here too, just kind of tapping along that edge. Still staying below where I want the fur to go over the top though, so I'm kind of staying below that and do the Unbleached Titanium. And then over here it's a lot darker, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the burnt umber, add that with the Unbleached Titanium, and do this darker color right in here where we've got some shadow. And I'm going to try to kind of put it in the direction that I'm seeing the hair go. So it's kind of going this way, coming down off the side of the back. And this is not going to, like I said, it's not going to look real great at first. I'm going to grab some glazing liquid and just use that to help kind of blend those two together. I've switched to my 3/8 inch angle brush here. I don't know if I mentioned that already.
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay.
3/8 inch angle brush? Oh, I've got a thing for that.
Sweet.
Hey, real quick, I jingled the bell, but you just kept on talking. So.
Oh, really? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. No, you didn't care that Cindy donated.
Thank you, Cindy.
And she said thanks.
Oh. Thank you very much, Cindy. I'd really like to be able to use more of his photographs. He's got a really beautiful little fox painting that I was eyeing, or a picture that I was eyeing too. That would be really fun to paint. So maybe if we're nice to him, he'll let us use some more of his photographs.
I can go take some pictures. I got a bunch of pictures on my phone. You just don't want to paint any of them.
You don't have really good pictures of animals, though.
Guess I got to step up my game.
Pictures of your cats, I guess.
I took a pretty good picture.
See how dark all that took. What?
Of myself and the flowers a couple months ago. When you were going to do your Patreon girl.
Yeah, that's right. I do remember that. So I'm going a lot darker than I'm going to end up with, obviously, but it's really important to go dark enough under white, especially because it's so light. There's not a lot of contrast. So if we can go kind of dark underneath, that way we can kind of, when we do our top colors, or white on top, there'll be just a little bit of something underneath there to give it some contrast. If we don't do this, it'll just be too, white on white. It won't have any kind of depth to it. So I'm using this brown. This is just burnt umber and unbleached titanium. And again, I'm kind of going downward. The fur on the face kind of comes down around like this. And on the top of the nose, it's sort of just, or on the muzzle up here, it's very, very short hairs that kind of come straight down at you. I'm just going to tap that color in.
Hey, real quick. Somebody would like to know why you chose brown as the undertone.
Just because I'm seeing a lot of browns. I'm going to add a little bit of blue too. So I'm going to get this on, but I am going to use some blue with this brown. Some unbleached titanium or ultramarine blue to create a gray. But this is, it's kind of blending with the gray of the pencil here. You can kind of still see my lines here. And so I'm kind of using that. I can use a little bit of the blue if I need to kind of come in here under here. There's even darker color right around his mouth, for her mouth. Right here. On the top of the nose. Kind of underneath the eyes right here. In here. So I'm just going to tap that color in to that wet paint.
We have another donation.
Ooh.
Hence the bells.
Nice. They're so light. I haven't really registered. That's what they are.
Shock you with the cowbell.
No, don't.
Okay. All right. So this
making some more of this dark gray.
This one's from Carol. She says, "Thanks, Dennis, for sharing your wonderful talent with us. Thanks to our wonderful teacher Angela and our sidekick Mark."
Oh, she said you guilted them. Now they're all gonna say thank you to you.
Any method that works.
Thank you so much.
I am not proud.
You're begging for treats now. Stop sitting under the table begging for treats there, Marky. Don't feed the dog. No, I couldn't do this without Mark, so I 100% agree.
I'll give you those Puss in Boots eyes.
Yeah, no.
No,
you said that really fast. So
oh no, I was reading that article.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm just going to continue with this color gray here down here. Closer. Go ahead.
One of the last things that he said in the article, when he talked about taking the photos, he says, "In the end, I hope my photos inspire people to care about all wildlife and to do their part in ensuring they're around for all future generations." And so I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool. Very cool. I love that. Very true. The polar bears are having a hard time right now, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting there. Doesn't, like I said, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Dennis,
you just got to trust me, Dennis.
Hang in there, Dennis.
Yeah, hang in there, Dennis. It's going to get better, I promise. I promise you I will do this justice if it eventually. I just looked up on the screen. When I'm painting, somehow when I look at it on the screen, it's like it removed a little bit. It's a little bit farther, smaller image, and so I kind of don't. When I get in here and I'm painting it, I don't always see. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I'm focused on just what I'm doing. I don't see it as a whole, stop and look at it as a whole. And so when I look up in the screen up here, I see it as a whole. And I go, wow, that is bad. That looks really bad right now. That was my react. That was my mental thought right there. So I promise Dennis we'll fix it. We'll get it there.
We had another donation come in from
Yay.
Deirdre. No special message, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Deirdre.
Oh, wait a minute. Now there's two. I hope she meant to do two. So there's a second one for Deirdre. And the second one message has, "Thank you so much. Sorry can't stay to watch. But I'm confident of its beauty. Thanks, Angela, Mark, and Dennis."
She has faith.
She thinks
you,
we're
Deirdre.
going to do a good job.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Appreciate the vote of confidence.
Man, those eyes, though.
Creepy.
I've got to zoom in
Creepy
on those
eyes.
That is right there. Take a screenshot of that, baby. And okay, we're done. Thanks for joining us today.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's even better.
Can't paint. Don't make me laugh. I just looked up at it when you said that. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm using brown, little tiny bit of black in here to do these eyes. Since Mark mentioned it, we'll just take that out of the picture right there. Take that out of the equation. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. We're gonna going to scare him away.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get another one. I'm sorry.
That's all right. This was the one that caught my eye. I can't believe I haven't seen these photographs before because they've been around since 2015. But
yeah, he's featured in National Geographic, like you said.
Yeah.
Outdoor photography, and now he can check Thankful Art off his bucket list. His life is complete.
Yeah.
So
this is dream right here. This
Yeah.
would be on our channel.
yeah, he's going to update his bio and put that ahead of National Geographic, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
And they'll say, go to about the 35-minute mark.
Looks really good.
Yep. That's what he was trying to capture.
Oh my gosh. Hey, I could see this in a children's book just like this, though. I mean, it kind of looks a little bit like a watercolor right now to me. So it's getting there. It's on its way. It definitely helped having the eyes and the nose put in, for sure.
Now, and you actually mentioned that because he does have a children's book too.
He does.
Called Princess.
Yeah.
Tells the story of the northern wildlife in a poetic form.
Ooh. Adding a little bit darker under here on the muzzle. You can see where it's starting to lift off right here. And that's because that paint under there was drying. So I can't really do much more. I'm going to just kind of very lightly skim it and try not to lift off anything. All right, I'm going to stop. Because, yep, see right there. It's just lifting. All right, stop. Don't do any more. Trust me.
Stop, honey.
I know. I keep thinking that. But you don't want to mess with it. You will just put another coat on top. It'll fix it. Let me see. This is dry up here. So we can work on up here. So I may not need you to blow dry for me today, hon.
Okay.
No, thank you for... All right, let's see what I'm seeing here. So I'm going to grab some of that pink there. I just reactivated it with a little bit of water. When you mix your colors like this, they tend to dry out a lot faster. That's why I kind of just pull a little bit of color off one side of my paint and leave this whole back side without disturbing it. And that way, if you kind of keep it sort of thick in one spot, it won't dry out like it will if you thin it out and flatten it out. So if you're having your paints dry out before you're finished with your painting, you may be pulling too much out from the middle of your paint puddle there too quickly, and it may just be drying out on you because of that. Okay, I'm gonna grab a little bit of this glazing liquid and my white and making a light color here. And I've got like 3 different colors here, 3 different values of this pink. Well, really 4 if you count this darker one way back there. I'm just gonna go in here, start tapping in some of this lighter color. And since it's got the glazing liquid, it's kind of thinned out, so it's not going to cover the other colors. So you can be able to see through it. And that's what's going to give it that foggy, kind of hazy effect.
Somebody would like you to explain a little bit more why the paint was lifting.
Oh, because when acrylics dry, they start to adhere to one another. They bond to each other, and they'll bond to your brush or anything else that touches them. So when they're in that phase between wet and dry, there's just like that one little time period in there right before they're completely dry where they get really tacky. And if you touch it with your brush or do anything else with it, it'll just lift right off of the canvas. So you just have to be careful of that. You've got a fairly acrylics in general dry pretty quickly, but you still do have, a fairly good amount of time to work with these heavy body acrylics. They're thick enough that you can kind of layer them while they're wet and kind of work with them. But if you start to feel them getting sticky, you have to kind of back off because that will lift them off. That means they're starting to dry, and you just have to kind of let them dry completely, and you can keep doing the layers like we're doing here, but yeah, right there, that that first coat that I had put on was starting to get into that tacky stage. And then especially because I put that watered down paint on top, the watered down paint will do it even faster. Like if you've ever dripped water on your canvas, when it's trying to dry, it'll just leave a big round circle wherever that water drop was. So the watered down paint did it even worse than it would have if I had just done thicker paint. But I didn't realize it was drying already. So, or I thought it was actually already dry.
And like you said, the important thing is to stop.
Yeah.
And just let it dry and then come back to it. Don't try to keep fixing it and you just get worse.
Right. Because once I did it up here and I noticed it was doing it, and then I kept doing it down here and it did it even worse down here. So it's just better to let it dry. Back off. You can always do more layers after it's completely dry, but Okay, so see, it's already starting to look a little bit better with this layer, right? It's kind of starting to, get that little sort of dreamy quality, sort of soft, fuzzy, blurry effect. This light pink over the top of this darker colors, kind of softening up. And I am kind of trying to pick in my photograph. If you look at the photograph, you can kind of see how these highlights are sort of like on the top of these darker areas here. There's like these little lighter areas. So, the tops of the tops of the flowers are catching some light and creating these lighter areas. So that's what I'm kind of trying to pick out, some areas that make sense for them to be sort of the top of the flowers, and just sort of creating some little highlights. Kind of up and down.
Okay, now actually that looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's starting to get there.
Like you said, I mean, just that look.
That second layer definitely needed it.
Well, not just the overall picture.
Right.
Like you said, it would be good for a children's book or something.
Yeah, it kind of does look like, kind of looks like a watercolor to me a little bit. I'm going to grab some of the darker color with this glazing liquid and do the same thing with it. Just kind of go up through here and add a little bit of that here and there. I'm not going to have to do a whole lot with this in the background here, because most of this is, like I said, blurry, so you can kind of do as little or as much as you want with it. Just get it to where it kind of looks good to you and stop. Doesn't have to look exactly like mine. And it probably won't. Everybody's got their own kind of style of painting, just like we all have different handwriting, and we'll have a different way of holding your brush than I do, and you may put more paint on it than I do, or press down a little bit harder, or whatever. You're going to have different kind of look. So just kind of embrace that. Don't try to fight it. Figure out what it is that makes your art special and work towards that.
Yeah, because we've been together like 33 years and I still don't write like you. So, I still can't barely even read your writing, actually, when you say that. Depending on how fast you try to write. I'm not much better, though. I don't write as much anymore. Mm-hmm. You just don't handwrite anymore. We don't have the, need to anymore. I was trying to elaborate on your conversation.
I'm sorry.
You just dissed me
I'm so
front
sorry.
of thousands of people.
Grabbing some pink, some white, some brighter pink here. This is a little bit thicker, too. You
know how sensitive I am about these things. No, just saying, we've been together for a lot, and I've seen you writing, and I write, but I'm just never going to write like you. So
right.
People shouldn't think they're going to paint exactly like you. Yep. They have their own style.
Yep. Yeah, and they just need to embrace that. Mm-hmm. I'm just showing you a few techniques that you can use, and you can adapt them and use what works for you and learn. Most of what I do is self-taught. I did decorative painting for a long time. So a lot of my techniques include some decorative painting things like, floating and things like that. All right. So I'm pretty happy with that, I think. I might work on a little bit of the greenery, just a little bit more. Maybe add a little bit of highlights to my green. That's dry, so I'm just going to grab a little bit more of my green here, a little bit more of my yellow. Mix and cut just a little bit lighter shade of green here. Or should I say tint?
So just in case we've had people come in and join us in the last 20 minutes or so, welcome, first of all. And today all the super chat donations are going to be going towards Mr. Dennis Fast as a thank you for allowing us to use this incredible photo in this tutorial.
Yes. Yeah, I'd really like to give him a nice generous gift, because he was super generous to allow us to use it.
So we're going to send him a food basket?
We should.
Because,
If this turns out well, maybe I'll send him a card with a painting or a print of it. All right. I'm not 100% happy with that. Green. Need a little bit darker. I'm going to grab that purple and add it to the green. I'll create a shadow green for us. Purple's a really good color to use with green. Purple or red will deepen that green right up for you. And there we go. Just get a little bit of that darker color around our green. I don't want there to be like a halo around my bear, so I'm kind of trying to make sure that I bring that color all the way down lower than I think I need it, so that I don't have to fight that. But I do want kind of a darker color kind of around his head right in here, or her head I should say. I think it was a girl. Did it say in the article whether it was a female? I think it was. Gonna grab some of that glazing liquid and just gonna blend that in. Blend, blend, blend. Go a little bit darker just right around the face so that I have a little bit of really good contrast when I put my white fur in there. That'll have a really nice dark edge right there to work with. Will give it a lot better contrast. Okay. Pretty good. Grabbing some more of that darker color. Add a little bit of that in a couple places up here. Another donation.
Another
Awesome.
donation. This one's from Deborah. And she says, thank you so much, Mr. Fast, for allowing Angela to use this photo in a tutorial.
Awesome. Thank you, Deborah.
Yes, thank you. That's awesome.
Thank you for being generous. All right. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I think I still want to fuzz out the green up here. Grab a little bit of that green, a little bit of the white. I'm going to go above the green just a little bit to kind of blend that in to the background somewhat. Just felt like they're kind of floating out there by themselves. Want them to kind of blend in a little bit. All right. Let's do a little bit of this green back in here. A little bit darker green back in here. See kind of some brighter green. And I'm going to put some down here, kind of just in between the flowers. I'm seeing some green. Sort of down in there. Okay. Pretty close. Am I getting my hair in one? No. Okay. I was doing that the other day. I was getting my hair in the shot every time I leaned forward. All right, I think I'm going to call that good for the background. Let's work on his fur. Her fur. I keep calling him him.
It doesn't say.
Doesn't say?
It
Okay.
says polar bears.
Polar bears.
So there was a couple of
Oh,
at
okay.
least.
More than one?
Mhm.
Nice. I wonder if that, if you just have to be at the right place at the right time for something like that. You got to have a lot of patience, I think, for probably doing what he does. Waiting. We see images like this, and it probably, happened over, I don't know how long that bear was out there, lolling around, but he may have been out there for days before this happened, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it says that he was staying at a lodge
Oh, really?
up there, and then said that he captured incredible shots of the bears frolicking in the fields of fireweed. Surrounded by the bright flowers, the playful bears can be seen rolling around, napping, and poking their heads up.
They're so cute. I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm going to start with this brush. This is the Willis Blender. We'll see how it does. If it doesn't get the effect that I want, we'll switch to a different brush. I'm thinking this one might do the fur the way we want it to be. So I'm going to use some of this white, and I'm going to scoop out some clean white from the back side here. Kind of deposit it on a spot over here. And then I want to mix up, I'm going to go ahead and use my angle brush for this. I'm going to mix up some gray. So I'm going to use that Ultramarine Blue and Burnt Umber. I'm adding a little bit more blue than the brown. So I want it to be kind of a deep blue gray. All right. Looks pretty good. Got way more there than I'll need, but that'll help it keep from drying out too quickly on me while we're working. And then we'll also use some yellow oxide too. Because I do see some yellow kind of undertones. And I'm going to use a little bit of that gray to mix in with that yellow. Yeah, that's a good color. Good color. So I'm going to use that first in here. I'm going to add just another color, another layer of color. Ooh, I don't want to scrub too hard. Just lifting that color off. Now you have to kind of be aware too that the acrylics, even that they're dry to the touch, they're not cured yet. So it'll take them about 24 hours or so for them to be fully cured on your canvas. So you don't want to scrub too hard on any of your canvas, any of your paintings while they're drying, because it will lift off. Okay, that's not giving me the fuzzy texture I'm looking for. But I do want to I'm just going to tap it along that edge right there. Just tap it a little bit. That edge back there is kind of blurry. You're not seeing each individual brush stroke anyway, so. my brush and just kind of flick it upward along that edge to get that kind of fuzzy, furry look. I'm using just the white right now. It's pretty bright back here. It's kind of mixing what's on my brush, though. I still have a little bit of that yellow on my brush, so it's not pure white. Back in here, there's some furs that are kind of coming, hairs that are kind of coming up straight up this way. Yeah, this is not. I'll put out some clean paint, or fresh paint, I should say. It's getting sticky. I'm going to use a little bit of that gray. And we'll use it on the ear here. I want to do it light enough that I'm still showing a little bit of that color underneath. Just a little bit. And it's fairly dark over here. Right now what I'm going to be doing is laying in texture. So the first layer was kind of just to get a base color on. I grab some of that really dark color to do right here. And now I'm going to lay in texture. And by kind of trying to get these fuzzy kind of brush strokes happening and getting them going in the right direction. So these ones are kind of coming out this way. And as they go up here, they're going to kind of come more straight right in this direction. Right here. And then towards the outside of the ear, they're just kind of very, very fine. But what I can do is, as long as I kind of get the hairs, sort of get some texture on there, sort of put in, then we can come back in and glaze and change the value. You know, we can deepen color, deepen areas. And if you watched my lion video, that's what we did. You know, we laid down our undertones and then we did our fur on top in layers. I think this brush is working pretty good. I'm just going to keep on with it. And then we went in and glazed over the top of that, you know, so I'm not going to worry too much about the color right now. I'm going to try to tap in this mostly with white. When I see areas that are obviously going to be a lot darker, I'm going to use darker color, but for the most part, I'm going to use white here and just try to kind of get the hairs put in the right direction, or the fur put in the right direction. So tapping upwards, kind of straight up. Usually the fur kind of comes out like this up above the eyes, so it's going to kind of follow the shape of the head as it comes around the head. And the eyes, kind of when you get to the eyes, they're sort of like a star burst. The fur will kind of come down and around it like this. So this fur is going to come this way, and then the side of the head fur is going to kind of come down and around like this on either side. And then as it gets toward the ear, it's going to come kind of straight at the ear. So it sort of turns right about here. It'll start to turn, and these will start to come out this way. And the ones laying on the top of the eye are kind of coming out this way, upward. The ones in the middle of the nose going upward between the eyes, and then coming down as they get past the eye, they're going to kind of change direction and go downward off to the side of the face, here and here. And the middle part of the nose is just kind of almost straight at you. It's just kind of tapping those. Okay, so that's what we're doing. You can kind of see what we're kind of trying to achieve there. It's just a little bit of texture. I definitely think I'm liking this brush. It's kind of seems to be working pretty well. It's not giving me... If you don't have this brush, you could use, we could try it with the fan brush. Let's see how the fan brush works. Yeah, you could still get it with the fan brush. Just small brush strokes. We're just kind of trying to layer upon layer. One thing I don't want to do is I don't want to have my layers going in rows. So I don't want to do like this and then do like this and have these kind of gaps, unless I mean to do that. You know, sometimes there's shadows and you're going to have that happen. So when I do my fur, I'm going to do like my brush stroke here, and then I'm going to come underneath and go there and there and there around it, so that it is staying random, almost like you're laying bricks. And that way you're not going to have your obvious lines in your fur. You don't want that to happen. So I'm kind of going up and down and back and forth as I'm doing this, always kind of moving my brush back and around, so that I'm not going to get these lines in my fur unless I mean to do it. There's places like right in here where there's definitely a line in the fur, like right there, that comes down. I find using the stiff bristled fan brushes are a lot better. I like them better than the softer ones. I think you can get better, crisper lines. If you're using a softer fan brush, you'll want to add water to your paint. Just like if we were using the rake brush at this point, we would want water in this brush. You have to have, it's so soft, you have to have water in it for it to work. So these hairs are really small by the mouth here. Like I said, I'm not really worried too much about the color right now. I'm just trying to get on that texture so that we can glaze over the top. Probably add two to 3 layers to this. Fur, glaze, fur, maybe another glaze, then some more fur. So it'll be several layers before we're done. To do it right, you know, to make it more realistic-ish.
I think if you move the flowers in front of their face, you would see that she's doing the duck lips.
Oh,
Yep.
She's posed. Is it blue steel? She's doing blue steel.
Blue steel, duck lips, yeah.
Duck lips. She's like, give me that camera. I'll do a selfie.
Instagramming.
Right. Right. There's a highlight. There's a bright area right between the eye, from the eyes down to the side of the nose there on either side. So I want to get that in there. Tap, tap, tap. His fur is fairly short, napped, so not needing to do really long brush strokes for this. I'm going to grab this brush again.
So you're back to the blender.
Yeah, I'm back to the blender.
And then somebody asked if you would be able to demonstrate the rake brush too.
Yes,
when you have an opportunity.
yes, I will.
And then maybe a scrub brush, and then maybe toothbrush.
I think you're making that up.
Cat brush. No?
I'm using gray here. Do gray down here. I'm ignoring you now.
Yeah, I could tell. That's okay. I don't pay attention a lot either during the show. So
we're even. Using the darker color right down here. And their skin is actually black, right? I'm not making that up, right? I think, yep. So you're seeing that black down in here close to the mouth. You're seeing that kind of black through the fur quite a bit down in here.
without Googling the facts, I believe their hair is actually almost clear.
Yes, I think you're right. That lets the warmth in through to the... Whoop, don't.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
That's right.
Oh, man.
Alexa, she jumped in there. She thought she knew about polar bears.
That's what you did to the other viewer the other day.
Oh, yeah.
You scared the bejeebers out of him. But I was looking at the other.
Turn her off.
I was looking at the other pictures in the series on the page, and it looks like they were a little dirty or muddy, and so that's why they have this little bit of a brown tint
Ah, got it.
to them.
They've been running around.
They've been frolicking.
Right. Going a little bit with that gray over the top of the nose right there. And I'll clean that up and make it look a little bit better, but I'm going to tap just a little bit over the top where that fur and the nose meet. It's just kind of got a light gray right there. I'm going to tap some of this gray around the eye. Really close. And there's like a little eyebrow right here. Not really, but there's like a little dark area right here and here. Looks a little bit like an eyebrow. Maybe it is. Of course, I'm getting that hair into the eyes. That's fine. I'll fix it. I'll clean it up later. Let's go ahead and do some of this dark color over here on this ear. There and there's kind of a dark shadow. Kind of makes this heart shape, almost like the nose and the eyes. Do this sort of heart shape right there, almost. All right, doing this kind of light gray here. I'm going to grab some of this unbleached titanium. Do some of that up here. Maybe a little bit of it over here. And I'm just going to kind of run some of this color down in here. This is all going to be in shadow, so I'm going to get that darker gray right down in here. Do some of that. Right, doing a little bit of white here now. All right, we're starting to get a little bit, starting to look like a bear. Maybe, hopefully. Let me use that rake really quick. I was going to show you. So you're going to want to thin down your paint with this, since it's a soft bristled brush. And you're just going to load it up so that you've got it flat, you know, kind of press it flat on both sides. But it's loaded up so that you can kind of see those hairs are separated a little bit. So I don't have it super thick on there. And I'm just going to set it down and just gently drag it in the direction that I want the hairs to go, or fur to go. And if it's on there too thickly, it may not separate out. So I'm going to hold a little bit farther back on there and just kind of gently, there we go. Use a little bit of that brown. Let's add a little bit of brown. Burnt umber with the white here. This whole area is fairly dark down here, fairly dark. So I'm gonna let's go and use it over here. Pretty much works very similar to the brush that I was using. But you can make a lot longer lines with it. That's why we used it for the lion. You know, you can make a lot longer. We don't need it for super long hairs. I'm going to go back to this brush here.
How you doing over there, hon?
Good. I'm just thinking. I'm trying to figure out how to
Okay.
get the effect I'm looking for here.
I'll let you think.
Sorry. I know I'm getting quiet.
No. I'll just fill in. I'll say hi to everybody.
Yeah.
And welcome again. It's a great tutorial. And again, thanks to Dennis Faz for allowing us to use his image for today's show. And all the super chat donations will go towards Dennis as a thank you. And the list of all the materials that we're using are down below. Click the link, or actually click show more, or a little arrow, and it'll show all the paints, the brushes, links to the brush guys. If you need to purchase some brushes, 5% off with the code AngelaFineArt.
Yep.
And also links to all the social media, Instagram. What else is there? Pinterest.
Patreon if they want the face. If they want the
yeah.
Facebook.
There's a public Facebook group there, and then there's a link to Patreon for traceables for the $1 a month. And tomorrow is this month's Patreon bonus video.
It is.
That will be available to the $5 and $10 level supporters and above.
$5 and above.
And above, right. So the way it works is a $1 level gets you access to the
Go ahead. Sorry.
traceables. And then the $5 level traceables in the bonus video, $10 level traceables bonus video, and a special Facebook group where there's more paintings and chats and
Weekly
tutorials.
Chats. Yeah, that one has like a weekly private chat with me where we do a lesson.
And it's just a way to support the channel.
Yep.
We say thank you.
All right. Just trying to get these hairs in here. Kind of go in the right direction. Like I said, it's a little trickier with white because the changes are subtle. Just trying to get those streaks happening. I just want to be able to see some streaks going in the right direction. And if my colors are off, that's okay. If the value's not quite right, it's okay. I just want to be able to see the right direction in the fur here. So all this off the neck here is coming this way. Super chat.
Super chat
Hey,
from Sandy.
thank you, Sandy.
And says, dang it. Have been back at my job and have to leave again.
Oh,
Just pop back to say bye and do happy chat.
oh,
That's what I call super chat.
thank you, Sandy.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry you have to go back to work.
Yeah, I know. I feel your pain, Sandy.
Mark was working this morning,
Oh,
and now he's working again.
Mark's working now.
All right, grabbing some of that gray. I'm gonna try to define that muzzle a little bit, and coming up around the face here. Kind of this oval shape right here. A little bit. Okay, we're getting there. Getting a little closer. I feel like the hairs could be a little bit darker back in here. Grab some of that burnt umber. Some of my shadow areas need a little bit darker fur worked in. Okay. This is dry. So let's do this. Let's try to glaze a little bit and see what we've got. See how, if we need to do more contrast with our fur here. So I'm going to go in here with some of that gray and add a little bit of the glazing liquid. I'm just going to use my finger to kind of to pull off the excess around the edges. I'm going to put in some hairs using the tip of my brush here. There we go. Okay, let's do the same thing over here. This side doesn't need it as much. Getting the white here, right here. There's kind of a brighter white right there. Okay, I use the tip of my brush, just this angle brush here. It's adding a little bit of white right along that top edge right there. Yeah, they really are kind of almost yellow. If you look, you know, if you were to look at it against a white, they're not, you know, pure white. It's the light. Every now and then we're going to want a little bit of this kind of brighter highlight here. A little bit of this, and I'm going to go right along that top edge and just barely tap it and flick a little bit of fur right along that top edge. Just do the same thing over here. There. I'm just going to grab this white and go to town over here. I'm going an hour and a half. Yeah, that's about right, because we'll probably need another half hour or so for the flowers, so flowers won't take too long. That'll be pretty easy. And as we get down to about right here, they're going to start turning this way and start coming out at an angle. All of this is going to be flowers, but I do want this color underneath just so in case it shows through. Grab some of this gray, do a little bit of the gray down in here. I have no idea what's happening down in here because this is all covered up. All right. Oh, we're getting there. It's looking a little bit better now. Definitely getting some detailing now. All right. Go back in with this white. I'm going to add some more detail here. A little bit of white right around the outside of that nose. Oh, come on. There and there. A little bit more white here. Just, you may not need to do this if you got your, if you got it bright enough the first time around. You may not need to do this. So, you're going to have to just kind of trust your instincts on this one. You may do fewer layers than I do. But I'm just seeing areas where I needed to add a little bit more color. So I'm putting that in. And then kind of coming out, so if you kind of was to continue this head down here, there's right over here, there's some hair that comes down this way. Right on the other side of this ear here. I didn't bring it out far enough the first time there.
Somebody would like to know, how do you get your paints to blend and flow so nicely?
I think it's just practice, really. I mean, the more you do it, the more kind of familiar you are with, what your paints will do and how to use them. Don't think there's any one thing.
She's a paint whisperer.
Well, I mean, you look at we were watching somebody play guitar the other day, and he was doing these amazing, chords, and he was barely moving his hand, and he was just doing this with his finger, and it was making this amazing noise, and you're just like, how is that done? And I'm sure if you asked him how he how he did it, he'd be like, I don't know. It's just a lot of practice, a lot of work, so there's, I've been painting for 30 years now, so I'm just familiar with the paint, comfortable with it, but it doesn't mean that you can't get there at all. It just means that if you're still struggling with some things, it just means that you just need a little bit more practice. Maybe, work on paper. I would highly suggest, instead of, I've got some tutorials about how to use got tutorials about blending, and I've got tutorials about just how to use your brushes for different brush strokes and things like that. So I think that, kind of like if you were to learn piano, how they have you start out on the chords and learn all or not chords, what are they? Scales. Learn your scales and that kind of thing. So if if you're wanting to get a little bit more brush control, there's things that you can do, like you can do my brush stroke lessons, where I show you, how to manipulate your brush, how to turn it, to do certain types of things, and that will help you in the end to have just overall better brush control. If you can do those brush strokes, then you can do pretty much anything. And when you get to something like this, I'm moving my hand around and manipulating it a lot as I'm working, and but I'm doing it kind of unconsciously because I've done so much practice with other types of things like that. And so you'll find that if you do practice a lot, even just nonsense practice and just doing just random brush strokes and and things like that, you'll find that it improves things like this. When you get down to doing something like this, it'll be a little bit easier if you've kind of worked on other things.
Right. I've swum in pools before, but I'm no Michael Phelps.
Right. True. Going with a little bit of dark there. Back in with a little bit of white. Yeah, part of it is there's some talent involved, I think. It's nice to have a little bit of an innate talent, but nobody that is, it gets to his level has done it all on talent. If he showed up to the pool and had not practiced and practiced and practiced, it doesn't matter how much innate talent he had or how much physical ability or how much potential he had. If he has not sat down and done the practices, or not sat down, but gotten in the pool and, practiced, he's not going to be able to do well, so you gotta, it doesn't matter if you don't think, that's one of the things I hear a lot is people saying, that, well, I don't have any talent for art. I don't, I can't do it because I don't have any talent for it. And, then maybe they picked up a brush for the first time and they had a really bad experience with it, or a teacher told them something or whatever. But, anybody can learn this. If you put in the time and practice, you can learn how to do this. It's just whether or not you want to, put the effort into learning it. You may not be at a Michael Phelps level, you may only end up being at an amateur level, but you can definitely do it. Don't let it stop you from, if you've always wanted to paint, I don't want anybody to feel like they can't paint. And if you don't know how to draw, that's where the traceables come in, because you can just trace it on and just enjoy painting without having to actually worry about the drawing part of it. Okay, so here we go. I think I'm putting that down a little bit too far. Well, no, maybe not, because it's coming out from the outside of his eye. Maybe just bring it in a little bit. I think it's a little bit more narrow. All right, getting close. All right, let's go back in now with the eye and do a little bit more detail with that. So let me get my brush here. Grab some yellow oxide and some brown. Kind of almost 50-50 here, and I'm going to kind of come around the eye and just tap in maybe a little bit of white. Tap in a little bit of this color all the way around the eye. Doesn't look like a whole lot right now. We're going to fix the eye there. We kind of painted over parts of it. So I'm just kind of putting a little bit of this yellow color.
It definitely looks better than it did an hour ago.
Thank you, honey. Which is a nice way of saying an hour ago it looked really bad.
Oh, I took pictures of it.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
You're bad. All right, so black here. I'm going to define that upper lid, or kind of the upper part of the eye. And I'm just kind of looking over here and making sure I'm getting them similar shaped. I always tend to give my bears bigger eyes than they have, like all my animals. I noticed I did with that with the lion, and the last bear I did the same thing too. So you may just go a little bit smaller than I do here, because I tend to give them big calf eyes for some reason. I think I'm keeping them fairly small this time. Hopefully closer to the right size. Grabbing some of that unbleached titanium. I'm just going to kind of come up over the top right here. A little bit of that. You should have some gray around the outside. If you don't have enough gray, you can come back in now with the gray and sort of add some of that in. Now she looks like she's got eyelashes. But, and you want a little bit of a dark part right on that tear duct area. And all around. Fairly dark. I'm really just kind of tapping now. Let's glaze a little bit. I'm going to grab my glazing liquid here. I've got that gray. I'm just going to kind of use a little bit of that up in here. Sort of blending that in a little bit. Just smoothing the transition between the gray around the eye and the fur around it. Just a little bit, kind of pushing it back into the forehead. You can see how that, now the eye kind of looks a little bit deeper in the socket. That's what we're going for. And then adding a little bit of that gray up here for that eyebrow area. I'm going to just use my finger to tap it off so that it doesn't go on too dark too quickly. Few brush strokes that come in this way. These are really important right here. This is what indicates that roundness of the nose, so don't forget that part. Right there and there. Okay. And then let's put some more of this gray down in here. We've already got the hairs in there. A little bit darker right here. Oh, now she's starting to look good. Get a little bit more of that gray. I'm going to go in here. This is the glazing liquid. We're just going in here and glazing a few areas, adding some shadows on top of the fur, and using my finger to blend it out. If you've got a mop brush, you could use a brush for that part. If you want to use your brush instead of your finger, that's totally fine. Just a little lazy. My finger, it's easier. It's right there. I don't have to dirty another brush. Grabbing some yellow. Some yellow down in here. That's that yellow oxide. Just glazing over. Whoops, I'm kind of going down underneath where. Thanks. A little bit of yellow. You can use a bigger brush than this if you need to. Let's use a little bit of this yellow over here. See a lot of it over here. The yellow oxide mixed a little bit with that gray, just a little bit of gray in there. put just a little bit of it up in here too. Just a little indication of it. Kind of on either side of the nose. Just tinting her fur a little bit. Just do a little bit of it up here. What are you laughing at?
Something completely unrelated to the painting. But
Okay.
it's funny. I got to read it.
Oh, okay.
It says, you can distinguish an alligator from a crocodile by paying attention to whether the animal sees you later or in a while.
Oh, God. Okay. I didn't need to know that. You just, obviously. Okay.
But that's funny. Come on.
That is kind of funny, yeah. All right. Mark Anderson. Doing some white right along from below the eye all the way down. There's just kind of a white section right there. So I'm going to try to make sure that that's there. Same thing on this side. There we go. Oh, she's looking good. Starting to come together. And I'm pretty happy with what's going on back here, even color-wise. It's pretty good. So I may not do a whole lot back there. Grab a little bit of that white and just come up here and do a little bit more white. Just a second layer here.
So, what's the bonus video tomorrow?
We're doing a winter sunset, kind of mountain with pine trees.
Ooh.
It'll be pretty. The mountain's got the sun kind of breaking out over them, so there's a lot of colors in the mountains and in the sky. It's all colorful and
Cool.
yeah, be really pretty, I think. Okay, I'm gonna go back in here. I've kind of lost some of my texture down in here, so I'm just trying to add some of that back in right there. Okay, so let's work on our eye a little bit more. Gotta work on our nose some. So I'm gonna grab the gray and add a little bit of white to it. Actually get a little bit of the darker gray there, and then define her nose. Comes up like this, right here. And this whole area is fairly dark. Right here, there's a flower right in the middle of this one, so I don't really know what's happening right here. Then I'm going to grab that black and go in here and make sure I've got kind of a nostril here and here. And then a little bit of the white mixed in with that gray. We'll go right along the top right here. Just do a little bit of a highlight right there. Need to bring that black out just a little bit more. Paint not wanting to go anywhere. Add a little bit of water to it to get reactivate it there. There we go. There we go. Now it's drying for me. Okay, so I want to move the nose over this way a little bit because I've kind of got a little bit too far to one side there. Let's put in our split, even though we're not going to really see this part. Just go ahead and make sure we have that kind of split right there. I think the mouth is going to be in here somewhere. Yep. Kind of using glazing liquid here. Glazing in that chin. There we go. Just to soften it up a little bit. All right. And all right, so this part of the nose comes out this way. On either side of the bear. And then it splits up right there and does stuff right in here. But that's all going to be dark. We're not seeing any detail on the front part of the nose. I'm just going to go in with my white, a little bit of gray, and I'm going to define right here. This is really bright right there. Coming around the side. And let's just go ahead and do it on this side too. And then we can do a little bit on the underside of the nostril. Maybe the light's hitting right there, and maybe a little bit in the nose, in the middle. Most of that's going to be covered up by flowers, so we don't need to go into too much detail. I don't have a front-on shot of a bear, so if I did, I'd do a little bit better job of detailing this, but... Well, I mean, I don't have a front shot of a bear that's not covered with flowers, I should say. I think we can go like this with a little bit of the lighter gray. Well, not that bright. There we go. And then I'm going to go a little bit darker all along here on the top, just tapping in a little bit darker gray. Okay, that's good enough, I think. Let's grab my brown burnt umber here. Whoops. Don't want to do that. I'm going to put in my pupils. And there's just a little bit of, I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of burnt sienna too. Right underneath. Kind of a little bit lighter brown down here. And then, really not seeing the pupil, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in there just to have it. I know it's there, it's just dark. I'm going to have highlights over the top of everything, so. Gonna let that dry for a minute. We'll use a little bit of the white on this brush. I'm gonna kind of just tap in around the outside of the eye here. Add a little bit of highlight right there. Just a little bit right there. Tapping over the top of that gray that we put in. Make sure I don't cover up the black, but I do want to set that in a little bit. There's just little bits of, tiny bits of fur around the eye there. Just tapping. Okay. Little highlight on the top of the brow, here and here. Tap in a little bit more color right in here. Okay, hon?
Just stretching.
Oh, okay. I think I scratched my... I did. I scratched my pink off right over there. Darn it.
I'll keep it souped out.
Gonna have to touch that up.
It was off camera, so they didn't see it.
Oh, well.
So you're saved.
Well, we'll have some other color up in here anyway, so I'll just tap it a little bit right there. Won't even know. Okay.
And of course, you can stop your painting at any time. If you don't want to put flowers over the front,
True.
you can leave it like this.
Well, yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
just
you
saying,
probably want to put a little bit more detail in the face, but yes. Agreed.
Yeah. People can make the painting the way they want to.
I agree. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of that Zinc White now for the eye, and I'll probably let this face dry a little bit and see if I want to, because the colors will shift a little bit as they dry. I'm going to put a little bit more white down here so we can always adjust them a little bit later if we need to. Although now that I'm thinking about it, we are putting in the flowers on top, so we do want to get her done completely before we do the flowers. So I take that back. I was thinking we would be working on something else we could come back, but we don't really want to come back to her because she's going to be covered up with flowers, so you don't want to have to try to paint around it. If you want something that you need to change, I would do it now, I guess. I'm going to grab some of the yellow, Oxide, go in here, add a little bit of that. There, just add it. Is that's probably her shoulder or something right there, but I see a little shape right there. I'm gonna put that in there and then do a little bit of white kind of over the edge to blend that in. Okay, she's pretty close. Let's use a little bit of that darker color down in here. Umber here. Okay, I think she's pretty close here. Pretty close. Let's do our little highlights in our eye. Go ahead and zoom back in there, honey. I'm going to use this Zinc White because it's transparent. I'm going to use just a tiny bit of the, maybe a tiny bit of the pink. I don't know, that may be weird. We'll see. Do a little bit right here. There's a little highlight on her sclera or whatever that is right there. There and there. And then I'm going to flatten out my brush. And the Zinc White is transparent, so if you don't have it, you can use titanium white and use your glazing liquid or water to thin out your paint so that it's transparent. And she's just got this highlight kind of going across the top of her eye right here. And I don't want to put in too much too quickly, so I'm just going to kind of start slowly and kind of add a little bit of that Zinc White across the top there. Come back in and add a little bit more. And we can grab a little bit of the regular white and do just a little bit of a brighter highlight right there and right there, kind of in the same spot on both sides of the eye. Well, I say the same spot, same side of the eye. May add a little bit of the yellow to this, just a little bit of the yellow Oxide. There we go. Right. And then I'm going to use the black with my glazing liquid. Go along the top of the eye with that. And glaze over the top of that highlight and set it back into the eye a little bit. There we go. Okay, a little bit more highlight. One more time. You just don't want to go too high with it because you want that dark area right along the top there to be dark, the black area. Going to shadow the rest of the eye. Gives it depth. Just don't put your highlight too far up. And I think I'm going to grab some yellow oxide, do a little bit right there. A little bit underneath here. Kind of like a very light highlight underneath. There we go. It's starting to be a little bit more realistic now. And I feel like I still need a little bit of gray underneath his eye here on this side. I keep kind of putting hair over it. There we go. Get a little bit of white. Go right along that black edge with a little bit of white. Highlight that lid. Go back in with the black and make sure that I've got a good black outline. Bring this out a little bit more. No, I guess that's good. There, okay. What am I seeing here? Grab a little bit of white. I'm just going to dab in around the eye here. A little bit. I need to come down with this. Just making small adjustments here. You may not need to do this. Grab some burnt sienna here. Okay. A little bit more zinc white. Okay, so one more highlight right here. My zinc white. There. There. Okay, done. Go in here with this black. Do a little bit in the ear. Oh, this is the gray, really, not the black. There. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go ahead and put in our flowers. Grab my angle brush again. I'm going to use this for the flowers. I'm going to use the burnt sienna and some yellow, or some Quinacridone Magenta. Sorry, just had to think of the color there for a second. And I'm going to put in some stems. So the first big one is going to be right here. It's going to go all the way up, and I'm going to use the edge of my brush to create that stem. And I'm just using it to draw lines. I find it's easier to use a flat brush to do these kind of lines. If you want to use a round brush, you can, totally. That's your, choice, whatever works best for you. This one is going to go right up on her nose, right there, between her eyes. There's one right here. So it circles that way. And the faster you do it, usually the easier it is to get a straight line. If your line gets too thick, you can always wipe it off. It's still wet. Ooh, but I'm pulling off the color underneath. Don't do that. I take it back. That color was too wet still, I guess, underneath there. You may want to wait a day to do this. Just let your paint dry on the polar bear completely. That way you don't have to worry about, if you make a mistake, you can kind of easily correct it. You don't have to worry about lifting off any of the color. But, okay. Ooh, another super chat. Awesome.
Yes, another chat. This one's from Maureen. And she says, another fabulous painting, Angela.
Oh, thank you, Maureen.
Thank you.
Thank you for donating to Dennis today.
Yes, helping support Dennis Fast.
Yes, and hopefully he'll let us use some more of his photographs in the future.
Please, pretty please.
Y'all have been very generous today. I appreciate it so much. All right, so I'm going to just go in here with some of this green here. I just mix some yellow, both of the yellows really, with the green and a little bit of white. I'm going to she's cute, isn't she? Probably need to work on her ear on this side a little bit more now that I look at it. There's a picture here. And just this time I'm just kind of flicking from the bottom here, creating smaller leaves. Don't worry too much about it. I'm just kind of changing the direction, turning my brush this way, this way. The more I press down, the thicker that first line is going to be. And then as I lift it, I can kind of flick it out. It'll get that leaf shape for me automatically. Just press down a little bit and then lift and flick. I'm not moving my hand at all. I'm just kind of setting that point straight down at me. And creating those shapes like leaves. Pretty fun to do this. Right, then I think I do want to switch to a smaller brush. Let's get the little number 1 round here. And some of the magenta, maybe a little bit of purple, kind of a darker color here. And I'm going to go on either side of this and just do some little dots starting from the top. Purple, magenta, chopping it down. And creating some little stems. Once we get those first few on, there's really not a whole lot of detail that you need to put on this because we're going to come back in and with some flowers, but I want some little stems, so I'm going to pull off some stems and just have you kind of press down to create little shapes.
So which brush did you grab for this?
Number 1 round. And this is kind of the centers of the flowers that I'm looking at. Sort of the underside and the centers of the flowers have this dark tone. And I'm just trying to do little stems off of them. And then dabbing a few little dark spots. And I might have to do this twice. I may have to go back in after I do my lighter colors and do more of this dark, but I did want to get my stems in first, so. Okay. Top of the flowers, just like a little dabs. And then as you get down, it's kind of widening out, and you're doing these longer, kind of extended flowers off of it.
I think this bear may be tired of the paparazzi.
She's a very famous bear.
I could sing that song.
No, please don't.
Okay, just because I love you, I won't. But I really want to.
We don't own the rights to it. You can't do it anyways. Get me in trouble.
People won't complain about too low of a volume then, would they?
No, they wouldn't. Be a flower there. Be a flower over here. Be a flower right there. These ones are kind of blurry, but I'm just going to go ahead and kind of dab along the outside of the stem there to create some shapes. Give us a little bit of a base. And don't forget, some of the flowers are going to be facing you. So those flowers are going to, or the dots are going to kind of more look like this. It's going to, these ones might be coming straight at us. So you don't have to do all of them going out so far. Some of them are going to be facing us too. So some of the dots you're going to want to put really close to the stem. And those are the ones that are going to be, like pointing towards us. Okay, just doing some stems. This one comes up a little bit farther. Well, maybe not that high. Just a few more little dabs. I'm really just kind of pressing down and lifting towards the stem and then sort of dabbing almost straight down to get some of these more random shapes. They don't have to make a whole lot of sense. And really, the more random that you are with stuff like this, the better. It'll kind of confuse the eye. They all kind of blend, these shapes all kind of blend together. You can see how I wanted to go a little bit lighter right here. I'm off camera. You need to zoom back out a little bit. Thank you. Yeah, I was right here when I did this part. I don't know what I was saying now. Oh well, must not have been that important.
Someone will remind us.
Oh, just a random. Just keep your brush strokes random, because the more like fussy you get with it, the more unnatural it looks after a while. You know, if you have all of these looking exactly perfect, all the same, then it can look a little, make it look a little artificial. So just kind of try to keep it random when you're doing this. I find that it's a little bit better. All right, so now that we've got our stems and things in, I'm going to go back to my angle brush here. This is the 3/8" angle, and I can, maybe I'm going to go use the 1/4" angle. Grab more of the quinacridone, and this time I want a lot of white. Got a little bit of the purple in there too. And if you feel like it's too bright, you can always tone it down with just a little bit of the burnt sienna. That'll kind of warm it up. And I'm going to use the tip of my brush to draw in little blobs, really not doing anything but pressing straight down almost. I want some more white here. Kind of a medium color. That was the darker color that we first put on. I want a kind of a medium color, and which is this one, and then this is going to be our bright highlight color. And I'm going to just work with the bright and the medium color sort of at the same time. And I'm really just kind of dabbing almost straight down to get these random flower petal shapes. And some of them I'm going to do more magenta, straight magenta here. Oh, she's still pretty. Get a little bit of my darker color here. Just a little bit more. And there's a whole section up here that's all like blurry flowers, so I'm just going to sort of dab in some larger blobs of color right here. A little bit of water there. There we go. Going with a little bit of the darker color, purple and magenta. Do some of that down in here, really dark. A couple places. Make sure that you're blurring this edge right here over the top of that bear, because we didn't define that very well. So we want now she's starting to come together. Trying to make a little bit more sense, hopefully.
Of course.
Good. Okay, so it's almost solid pink all the way down here. There's a little bit of green here and there. I'm going to grab a little bit more of my green. Put some of that back in. Right down in here. Oh, my pins are getting all sticky. There we go. Yellow, phthalo blue or phthalo green, yellow oxide, and cadmium yellow light or yellow medium. I am getting really into this because I can't speak my words.
Okay, why don't you go out and come back in?
I know. Okay, these are stems here of the leaves. Put a few leaves over the top of what we've got going on here. And we'll put other colors back on top again, but give us some. Using this brush with the darker green there. It's kind of that first color that we put on. And I have a really dark area here. Use some of that gray with this green. needed a little bit yellow, so I'm adding a little bit of yellow back in with that gray. That's that ultramarine and burnt umber mixture that we've had left over from earlier, mixing that with the green. Here I need a dark green here. There we go. There we go. Okay, cleaning that out. Grabbing some of that lighter pink. I'm going to do some lighter pink highlights on here. Get some of that medium color, put that in there too. Kind of obscuring that mouth area and the nose, so matches the photograph. Since we didn't paint that in very clearly, really need to do that. Going back in here with the magenta close up here. These ones close up, I'm just really just kind of doing sort of like we did back here, doing them sort of close together and blended somewhat since they're not really defined. Letting the colors kind of merge into one another. And up here, obviously, where it's more in focus, we're going to have more defined flowers and petals. Go with some of that medium color here. Ooh, super chat.
Another super jet. This one is from Debbie, and she says, appreciate all you do for your followers. Thanks, Angela, Mark, and Dennis.
Thank you, Debbie.
Yes, thank you very much.
Very sweet. I feel very blessed. Somebody said, I don't know, every time somebody says thank you, I kind of feel a little bit guilty because I enjoy this so much. Like, heck, I've been doing this for years and not getting anybody caring at all. So it's like, what is happening? It's been a real roller coaster this last few years working on YouTube and having so many people appreciating what I've been doing for years and years. It's just like I don't really know what to say to it because I so enjoy what I do. I'm so glad you guys do too. And I think one of the best things about this job is getting to connect with folks who also have a passion for art and learning it and all of that. I love it so much. And I love to get to help folks because I know how hard it was for me when I was learning how to paint. I really struggled a lot. And, I even went to college for art, but I still didn't quite, I just didn't learn the kinds of things that I wanted to learn, and it was a lot of theory, but not a lot of practical instruction. I'm sure they do in some colleges, but when I didn't really do that, they just kind of set you down with the canvas and said, do something. And I wanted to learn techniques and, how to do something, how to get it to where I wanted to be. So I learned how to draw, though. That was one of the best things I learned in college. But painting was very frustrating, kind of learning how to paint and teaching myself some of these techniques. And so this is one of the things that I enjoy getting to do. And I love seeing that you guys are, those who never thought that they could paint and pick up a brush for the first time and produce a really beautiful painting. And it's just one of the best feelings for me to be able to know I helped with that somewhat. So it's awesome. All right, I think I do want to extend. I'm trying to see. I feel like there needs to be one right in here. Just to kind of break up that line there. You see what I'm saying? Like in the photograph, it kind of comes down. It comes down, but then it comes up again before it goes back down. And I kind of missed that. I kind of did them all down, so I want another one that's up a little higher right here. There we go. That kind of gives a little bit better flow right there. All right, I think, what do you think? I don't know. I think we're pretty much done.
That's pretty awesome.
Pretty close. I'm pretty happy with it, I think.
I realized I didn't even do any of the disco lights for any of the chat.
That's okay. It's totally fine.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Because Dennis didn't get the whole effect. Maybe it's like Disco Party Night Bear. Needs disco lights.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Don't know about that?
I don't know about that. All right, I think I'm going to add a little bit of this brighter magenta. Now that we've got this all dry up here, I'm just going to add it in a couple places, just kind of glazing it on. Just to tie this color up into here. Just a little bit. So we didn't use really any of this brighter magenta up there. And I think pretty happy with that. Yeah, call that good. I'm trying to see if there's anything. Oh yeah, I wanted to mess with the ear right over here. Just a little bit. Sorry, I faked you out.
I wasn't faked out.
You knew.
Oh, come on.
All right, right here. Yeah, I wanted to extend that out just a little bit. Bring that around. That's better.
Pretty sweet.
We're good. I think we're good. I'm going to call that good. So thank you guys so much. Thanks for those who donated on Super Chat to help Dennis out, and say thank you to him. And thank you to Dennis again. If you want to check out his website, again, it's down in the description, all of the information about that. And we'll be back tomorrow for another painting for our Patreon folks. So if you're part of that $5 group, I'll be actually posted during the show up on Patreon.
Oh, nice.
And so the link's out now. And
so now can people see the a picture of what you're painting tomorrow if they're not part of Patreon?
Yes, it was. Yeah. I did a post on Patreon so they can go and see what it looks like. And then if they join, then there's another post that's got the actual link in it.
Okay, so the patreon.com/Angela Fine Art.
Right.
And then they'll be able to see the picture and say, yeah. And,
right.
And now that membership, that $5, $10 above levels, that doesn't get them just that video.
Right. It gets them all the bonus videos that we've ever done.
Right. So it unlocks all of them for them so they can go back and they can do some incredible videos.
Yes. All kinds of different ones. Last month we did the bear in the landscape, the mountain landscape with the bear, and yeah, lots of fun ones. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Oh, I guess I need to sign it, huh?
Yeah, we'll let you.
It's signed. All right, let's do that down here.
And you're signing it with what?
My Pigma Sakura pen. It's in my Amazon store link. If you go there, it's listed in the supplies, acrylic painting supplies list. So, all right, guys, see you tomorrow. If you're not part of Patreon, we'll be back on Tuesday, and then we're taking Thursday off next Saturday off for Thanksgiving. So we will not be back next Saturday, but we will continue after that in our normal schedule. That's the only difference that we've got. All right, but we will be here Tuesday night. So.
And what are we painting Tuesday night? Do you know?
Tuesday night we're doing little heart hands.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
it'd be
cool.
cute.
Mittens with the heart.
Yeah, little mittens with the heart.
So
I thought that was fun.
Starting the Christmas.
Yep, it'll start the
themes,
Christmas
right?
blitz. Yep,
Oh, yeah.
all Christmas for pretty much the next 3 weeks after that. So, all right, guys, thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.